Welcome back into the channel, guys. Today I have a video just building off of yesterday's subject, and that is basically how to handle your salaries and manage your salaries and plan your salaries out so that you don't get screwed over in one specific year down the line in a franchise. Now, what you'll see, and what you'll see if you go back and watch the last video, is that I ended up with a whole bunch of players that have to be re-signed in the same year, a bunch of young players, and the reason for that is I didn't stagger these guys. Now, these guys all came on the Bills team, so there wasn't much I could do about it, but there are some things that you can do to prevent this from happening, and there are some things that you can do to allow you to actually manage your salary well enough that you can re-sign all of these top-end players. Like this year, I have Oliver, Singletary, Edmonds, Allen, and Tre'Davious White all to be re-signed together. They're all above a 90, so they're going to demand huge contracts. So I'm going to need the space to sign them. And they're not the only ones. There are a whole bunch of other players that I have to re-sign this season. But the important thing that I want to talk about today, and you guys can see that I'm scrolling through it here now, the important thing I want to talk about today is the mistake that I made that I probably could have avoided, and you guys can avoid in your franchises as well. I saw all these players and I was like, yeah, I want to get these guys really good. Yes, I want to hang on to these guys, but the thing I didn't realize is that Ed Oliver, Josh Allen, Terrell Edmonds, Devin Singletary, a bunch of those guys, including some of the ones that are lower down on the list, like I believe Cody Ford, Tremont Smith, they're all from the same draft class, or at least their contracts are up for negotiation at the same time, and the same thing rolled around with Tre'Davious White. And some of the things that you can do to avoid that happening to you is trying to stagger the ages of these guys, trying to stagger the years of that your best players were drafted, and trying to stagger their experience. And what I mean by that is all, when you click into a player, you're going to be able to see what their age is, what their experience is. So he's a fifth-year player. What you'll be able to see with guys like Ed Oliver and a bunch of these guys that came out in the same draft class is he's a 3-year experienced player, and so is like Josh Allen and Edmonds and all these different guys. Or I guess he's a 4-year player. But the point of it being is that they need to be re-signed in the same season. So how can you stagger these guys? The first thing that you want to consider early on, and if you're somebody like me that wants to plan ahead and just didn't do a good enough job this time, but in the future you guys want to plan ahead, you guys should try and trade some of these people away. And that's something that I'm considering doing now, but it might be a little bit too little too late to do that. You know, some of the guys that I'm considering trading away are X factors, and it's going to be really tough to see somebody like Josh Allen go or Ed Oliver go, but it might just boil down to the fact that I don't have the money to re-sign them, and so I have to let them go. And what you need to do is you need to find a way to stagger the age of those players and stagger their contract re-signings. You can't afford to have all of these guys re-signed in one season, because what ends up happening is in the off season, like where I'm at right now, I don't really have a filled out team. I need a lot of backups. There are some positions that I need, but the problem that I'm facing is I'm afraid to spend any of my salary cap because I need to save it for next season. You know, I can sign 1-year deals. Like I could go out and get Richard Sherman on a 1-year deal or something, and then I'd still have that salary cap next season in order to re-sign these players, but you're going to miss out on a lot of free agency action. You know, there are guys out here that I want to sign. Like Connor Williams is a guy that I really like and I really want to sign. He would be a great addition to the team, but I have to shy away from offering a guy a multi-year deal that's going to tie up money that's going to be needed to re-sign all of these players. And so my point of this video is just to emphasize the fact that you need to do whatever you can to avoid having this happen to you, where you have all of your star players, basically all of my star players that are above a 90, are up for contract negotiations in the same year. And I've gone over in other videos, and I went over in the last video some things that you can do to avoid this. Number one, you can trade these guys away. You can bring in other stars. You know, say Tre'Davious White, for example. Corners cost a lot of money. Something that I could do to avoid having to re-sign him this season is maybe trade him away for like a younger corner, or trade him away for a draft pick that will allow me to draft a corner, and then I'll have him on a cheap deal, the person that I traded for or drafted. I'll have them on a cheap deal in replacement of Tre'Davious White. You might lose out on that 92 overall, but you can avoid having to pay all of these guys in the same year, and I definitely don't recommend trying to pay all these guys in the same year. I'm going to try to do it because I'm trying to challenge myself, but you're going to have a tough time getting that to work, and I'm at a point in the franchise where I've earned enough XP through 2 Super Bowl wins and stuff like that, that I've been able to spend on the coach XP traits that allow me to sign these players for cheaper. So I have a lot of these signing things like O-line re-sign, D-line re-sign, linebacker, DB, all that stuff. So a lot of the time you're not going to be in the same position where you've had that much XP with your coach to be able to get those re-sign traits to help you out. Now that is something that you can definitely do, but like I said, I want to emphasize the fact that you need to try and get around this any way you can. So trading, that's the number one option. The number two option is the franchise tagging system. And I'm going to play with that a little bit this season. And you can always figure out what the franchise tag for your player is going to be by averaging out the salary of the top 5 players at that position. So a good example of this will be Ed Oliver, and I'm going to try and probably do this with Ed Oliver. So what I would want to do with him, if I don't want to re-sign for like the max amount this season with Ed Oliver, I'm going to look at the left ends in the league, and I'm going to go around and find, based on a sort, who the top 5 players are, and then average out their salaries. And then I can average it out and find out what their salary will be. And so if I go back to my team and look at the Bills, Ed Oliver actually is on a tag this year. Or no, someone else was on a tag this year for around $18 million as a defensive end player. So I know that I could probably get Ed Oliver back on a tag for around $18, $19, $20 million, which is probably going to be cheaper than what he's asking for. So one of the strategies you can do to avoid having to re-sign all these guys in the same year is tagging certain people. And you can only tag one person per year, but that will help me stagger the re-signs for these players and allow me more opportunity to manage my salary, more opportunity to kind of work my way around things and not have to do all these huge contracts all at one time. And so what I'm going to try and do, I'm going to try and salary tag one of these guys that's going to be cheaper than what they're asking for on their contract. And that will allow me to have a little bit of extra cap space to sign other guys. Then the following season comes around, and I can utilize my salary cap management abilities and save some cap space, and then re-sign that player that I tagged. So very important that you guys do that. I think another issue that I had was, I think it was actually Tre'Davious White. I made the mistake of not re-signing him. He's the one that's on the tag right now. So I franchise tagged him thinking, oh, I'll be able to postpone his I'll be able to postpone his big contract negotiation until next season. Well, he went higher up in overall, he's going to demand more money now, and I have to re-sign all these other players at the same time. So if you guys were planning ahead, if I was planning ahead and I did things correctly, I would have staggered this. I wouldn't have signed him, I wouldn't have franchise tagged him to have him need to be re-signed in this season if I would have been looking ahead and realizing that, oh, Ed Oliver, Josh Allen, Terrell Edmonds, Devin Singletary, they all need re-signed in that same season as well. If I would have realized that ahead of time, I would not have franchise tagged Tre'Davious White. I would have done whatever I could have to get him under a contract so that I don't have to do all the negotiations in one single season. So that's one thing that you can do to help avoid a situation like this. Don't tag a guy to then put their negotiation into a season where you have a whole bunch of other negotiations. Keep track of these things and tag the right people. And like I said, trade away people earlier on than I did here. It probably would have helped me to trade away some of these guys. You know, maybe trade away Tre'Davious White whenever he was a little bit younger, and I realized he wasn't getting a superstar trade or something like that because he hasn't progressed as well as I would have liked him to. Might have helped me out to trade him away earlier, some of these other guys earlier. So make sure that you're doing that in your franchises. Make sure you're trying to stagger when these contract negotiations come into effect, because it's really, really important that you don't face this many contract negotiations for big time players in a single season, because it's really going to be hard. Like I said, I'll update you guys if you guys want to see this later on, whether I actually manage to accomplish re-signing them all or not. But hopefully this helps you guys out in some way. I know that this isn't as useful of a video as the last one, but I just wanted to build on the topic from yesterday and kind of talk about this side of things and how to pay attention to staggering these things, because it's pretty much it's literally basically the same topics as yesterday. It's just expanding on it a little bit, and the fact that you want to kind of stagger the years that these people were drafted. So this is why it's not a good idea. And I know a lot of people like to accumulate a bunch of draft capital and draft a bunch of rookies, first-round rookies in the same season. This is why it's not a good idea to do that a lot of times, because then you have to re-sign all those players in the same season. And so, yes, it's nice to have good players come up through your system, but you want it to be staggered in a way that they're not all going to have to be negotiated at the same time. So, if this does help you out in some way, leave a like on the video, comment down below what you guys would like to see next, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm going to check those comments, and I'll be right back with you guys to sign off. Shout out to those of you that commented on the video emoji. Yes, I will. I'll add it to the list to do an updated sliders video. The sliders have changed slightly from when I was playing on them last, so I'll update you on those. Haven't changed a whole lot, but I will definitely add that to the list of videos to make. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for your support. Like I said, guys, leave your feedback down below. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.